Hey, this is Keith with Legacies Allure. I want to give you a really quick rundown of how to play Legacies Allure in Tabletop Simulator. So once you have Tabletop Simulator open, you can go to Create, and you're probably going to do multiplayer normally when you're playing with someone else, but since I am not playing with anyone else, I'll click Single Player. You're going to click into Workshop if you don't have the Legacies Allure mod, and you'll go to Browse. It will take you to the Steam page where you can search in the workshop for Legacies Allure and subscribe to it. But we already have that loaded up, so we're just going to click Legacies Allure. Click Load. And it's going to take a while if this is the first time you've loaded it in, because it needs to load the images. You're also going to see a number right here. This number here should match what's on the card. If the card number does not match, then what you need to do is go to Menu, Configuration, turn off mod caching, then leave the game, re-enter it, recreate the server, whatever, so it'll re-download the new card images. So once you are in the mod, I'm going to show you how to play a Blitz game, which is a game in which we don't draft. And in order to pick out the Blitz armies, what you need to do is change your color. Go to Change Color, go to Red. When you pick a color, you're going to see a starter button here. And if you click in here, you're going to see a whole bunch of options. So here's each of the heroes that are available in the game right now. And you have a 50 gold Blitz option, an 80 gold Blitz option, and then the standard Kingdom, which is 160 gold. You'll use this only if you're going to draft, which I'm not going to show you how to do in this video. You can look on our website and see the rules how to do that if you want. So let's start off with Tristan, 50 gold, and then I'm going to switch colors. Actually, no, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go back to red. I'll make the red side Carthel. So I just want the colors to match up. Blue, we'll make this Tristan. Go to starter. So yeah, if you're playing with someone, have one of them pick the 50 gold Carthel, the other person pick the 50 gold Tristan, and then you can click begin battle phase. If you are drafting, you would want to draft your armies first and then click begin battle phase. But once you're ready to battle, go ahead and click that. And in physical form, when we're tracking things like mana and damage, we would use D6s, which we have here just as a convenience, but they're not actually necessary. So in TTS, if you want to apply damage, mana, poison, burn, etc., you can just click in the corners of the art and it will appear. So you're going to right click and left click in order to increase and decrease those. And so you see some of these units that come with mana, like for example the priest up in the top corner. I'll hold down Alt actually to make that bigger. See in the top right corner how it starts with 4 mana. That's why it had the counter at 4 when the battle started, because the mod automatically applies that. And let's see. You'll also notice on each card that there's a gold cost in the top right. If you were to add up all the cards out on the battlefield, including these cards down here, which apply only to your hero, they would all add up to 50, and that's why we call these 50 gold Blitz. 50 gold meaning that's the cap of each army, and then Blitz because we skipped the draft. So same thing over here. On the side, all this, including what's in the back, would add up to 50. So let's assume for this little tutorial I'm going to give you that the orc faction is going to go first. And you can flip this card using the F key if you want in order to remember who was the first player and the second player. Normally you would roll. You can mouse or box select the die and hit R and it will roll it, and the high player is going to go first. But we're just going to assume that the red player, the orc player, is going first. So their card is going to say first, and then the human player is going to say second. And that affects the victory condition of the game. So the victory condition is asymmetric. The first player needs to be in control of this central hex by the end of the 7th round. By the way, if you want to drop an arrow like I'm doing, you just hit the tab key. So yeah, first player, be in control of the central X at the end of the 7th round. The second player, it is their job to stop the first player. So asymmetric victory condition that ensures that there are no ties. Alright, so this game is just like chess, and then we're going to use alternating activations. First player will take an action, then the second player, then the first player, back and forth. And I've already shown you that the victory condition is different from chess. Another thing that's different from chess is that after you've activated a unit and used its action, you're going to exhaust it. And if you want to exhaust it, you can hit the E key to turn it clockwise 90 degrees, which indicates exhaustion, and then you can also refresh it using Q. So E and Q, although once everything's exhausted, we will just click the end round button and that will automatically refresh everything. But yeah, if you want to manually do that, it's Q and E. If you are getting something like this, where it's only rotating 15 degrees at a time, that's because you need to change your rotation degrees up in the top to 90, and then you can rotate it fully 90 degrees. So, as an example, each unit can do one of 3 actions: move, attack, or use an ability. So the cave troll on the bottom, you see it has a movement of 2. Let's say that we are to move it out to the center. 1, 2. And by the way, you don't have to move it exactly that value. You could move it only 1 if you wanted, and you can move it in any direction. But we're going to move to the center, and then you would hit E to exhaust it. And that means that its unit is used up for this round. So now the blue player will take an action, and then they'll exhaust one of their units, and we'll go back and forth until everything on the battlefield is exhausted. Then we will start a new round, refresh everything. We'll do that out to 7 rounds, at which point we'll see which side has met the victory condition. So another thing, you might have noticed that I left this die out here. This is a free shield to whatever unit gets to the center first. It's just basically a free temporary extra health, so you can now think of this cave troll as having 9 health. And that's just to give a little bit of advantage to the first player, since as soon as they move out, if they're in the center, they're now in range of some of the enemy units a lot of the time. So that's the purpose of that. You might also have a hero, for example, this human hero, Tristan, starts with 2 shield because of his passive ability, Divine Favor. It says at the start of battle, Tristan gets shield 2. So we do use D6s for those still. So anyway, that was the movement action. And now let's demonstrate the attack and ability actions. So there's 2 types of attack actions. There are ranged attacks and melee attacks. Let's do a ranged attack first because it's simpler. Here we have an elite longbow archer. At the bottom, you see the power. That is what it deals in combat, attacking or retaliating. And then next to it is the range. So it can deal, when it's attacking, it can deal 2 damage to any unit within 3 range. And there is no line of sight in this game for ranged abilities or for for ranged attacks or for abilities. So this elite longbow archer can attack the cave troll, and that's what we'll do. So 1, 2, 3, we can reach it. First damage is going to get consumed by the shield, and then the other damage will go into the cave troll, so that's why we're going to put a damage counter on it for 1. So that was a movement action, moving the troll out here. Now a ranged attack. Now let's show you a melee attack, but first I'm going to get this grunt in position. So it's going to go back to the red player. Let's say that the grunt, which has movement 2, is going to move up next to the swordsman. This will provide a nice opportunity for a melee attack. So you notice on the swordsman there's no ranged value. It cannot perform a ranged attack. It can only attack as a melee unit. And by default, when a unit performs a melee attack, it can only attack what is adjacent to it. Now, this is where you got to put your chess hat on again. In chess, whenever you kill or capture an enemy unit, you actually take over its space. Same thing here. We need at least 1 movement point on whatever our melee attacker is, so that we can go into the enemy's hex and fight it. And if we kill the enemy unit, we're going to stay in that hex, and we're going to remove the dead enemy unit. So in this case, let's just say that the grunt did have 1 damage on it. Now it has only 3 health remaining because it had max health 4, has 1 damage, 4 minus 1, 3, so that's how much health has remaining. And the swordsman has 3 attack damage, as you can see. So if I were to attack this, we would kill the grunt outright because the attacker always strikes first, and then we'd be exhausted in here like that. That's how that turn would end. But that wasn't the situation. We did not have a damage on the grunt. So what's going to happen is the swordsman is going to walk in here, deal 3 damage. The grunt is not dead, so now they're still fighting in here. The grunt is going to retaliate back, deal 3 damage to the swordsman, and then the swordsman will get pushed back to its last hex, and that is how that turn will end. Alright, now let's talk about abilities. Let's say that we want to heal the cave troll. Well, fortunately, the orc player has a troll doctor which can heal, and the troll doctor starts with 3 mana. That's why we have 3 mana on it right now. And the troll doctor, it does have a normal attack. You can see down at the bottom it can attack within 2 range for 1 damage, but it also has 2 active abilities, and active abilities, as the name implies, consume an action when they're used. And those 2 active abilities are called Heal and Restore. And active abilities always have that same format. They have the name followed by a hyphen, followed by the mana cost. So that's how much we'll tick the D6 or the blue counter down by after we use the ability. And then the next value is the range, the cast range for just that ability. And then after that, it's what the ability does. So you see that word combinable. That is a keyword. Troll Doctor also has another keyword on it called Allied Pathing. That's a passive ability, meaning it's always on effect. If you ever see a bolded word and you want to know what they mean, you can hold down Alt-Shift and it will show you the back of the card and you can see where keywords are defined. So you see the passive ability, Allied Pathing, just means that that unit may move through other allied units, because by default you cannot move through other units. And then that ability, Heal, can be combined with a movement. So in this case, Heal, as we saw, has 3 cast range, 1, 2, 3. We don't need to combine this with a movement to get into range. Or you could actually do the reverse. You could use the ability and then move if you wanted to, say, move to a different position. But if the cave troll were up here, then we would have to combine it with a movement and heal. But anyway, we don't need to do that. So instead, we're just going to exhaust it. We're going to consume one of its manas, and then the cave troll is going to be healed for up to 2. So we will remove that damage, and that's how we use active abilities. So you've seen movement, you've seen ranged attacks, you've seen melee attacks, you've seen abilities. I'm going to show you one more attack. That is a charging attack. So you see this knight, it is a melee unit. So normally this knight would not be able to attack anything because there's no enemies adjacent to it. But if you look on the back at what charging says, it says this unit can move and attack in a single action. Now this is key. As I said, if you're doing a melee attack, you need to be able to reach that enemy's hex because you're trying to take it over. So this knight has 3 movement. If we wanted to attack the grunt, 1, 2, yes, we do have enough movement to get in there, 1, 2, and since the grunt only has 1 health left, and since the knight deals 3 damage, we would kill it outright and we'll take over that hex. Now if the grunt was over here, we would not be able to attack it. We only have 3 movement, 1, 2, 3. We would not be able to get into the grunt's hex. So anyway, let's do the charging attack. Charge like that. Now the knight is in there. Okay, so you've seen all the different types of abilities, but now I want to talk a little bit about heroes. Each side has a hero. On the human side we have Tristan, and on the orc side we have Carthul. And you'll notice they don't have a gold cost because they are leaders of the army. They come free with the army. And you also notice they don't have much text on them. That's because The abilities for heroes are actually kept in the back on separate reference cards. So these are not part of your hand, they're purely reference cards, and you can pretend that all of the text on these cards is printed on the hero. The reason we have their abilities and their items on separate cards is so you can customize your hero during the draft, just like you can customize your army. So in this case for Carthul, we've chosen Lightning Bolt 2, Chain Lightning level 2, and then this item called Rod of Asmodet. And items, as you'll notice, are gray. That means that they can be used by any hero as long as you can pay the gold cost. Whereas these abilities you see in the middle, they have the hero's name on it because they can only be used by that hero. And also in the middle of items, you see that one next to a little backpack. That's the inventory slots it takes up. Each hero has 3 by default. So all the items you have, all those numbers can only add up to 3. And in fact, if we come back here, we also see Tristan still has 2 item slots remaining as well. So anyway, these are your abilities. If you need any information on how the abilities work, don't forget that you can hit Alt-Shift and look on the back. And once your hero dies, it's not a lost condition. The hero is kind of like the queen in chess. It's definitely the most powerful unit on the battlefield, but just because it dies doesn't mean the game is over. The only victory condition is whether the first player is in the central hex or whether the second player has stopped them. So that is how we would do the basic action loop. And then once everything is tapped, just exhaust everything real quick. We're going to click end round, and then it will refresh everything and it will say that we're now in the second round. So that's how you're going to play a Blitz game. Very briefly, I will explain how to do a draft in case you want to try that. We would not recommend you start with a draft. So let me reload this. I'm going to go up to games, click load. Should refresh everything. So what we would recommend you do is start with a 50 gold game, then move up to an 80 gold Blitz game. So this is just going to be standard army size, which is 80 gold, a few more units out in the battlefield, probably a few more items and abilities for your hero. But again, we didn't draft. Whoever created the pre-made army basically drafted for you. When you draft, what you're going to do is you're going to start with an 80 gold deck, or as we like to call it, a kingdom. And if I right click on this and go to search, actually let me keep this back up here, because this gold counter button is going to count for us how many units, abilities, and items we've drafted thus far, and it's going to count whatever's behind the blue line because that's the deployment zone, as well as whatever's down here in these slots. So anyway, right click, search. So for example, I could draft the Grand Wizard, which is 15 gold. If I put this down here and leave this, click gold count, you see it. We've drafted 15 gold. Now I can draft as many units as I want. Once I'm done drafting for that turn, I would pass the turn to my opponent, and they are required to draft up to my current gold cost. So they would be required to draft at least 15 gold worth of units. Then it goes back to me. I have to draft more, and eventually we're both going to hit the gold cap of 80. We'll stop, then we'll click begin battle phase and start playing. And if you want to go to our website, there's a kingdom builder tool that we have. And once you've created a kingdom in the kingdom builder, you can click this advanced play button, paste the kingdom in here, click create cards, and it will import your kingdom, and you can start drafting. And that's how we do it in tournaments. Likewise, in tournaments or in more formal play, we have a chess clock for you to use that has the time amount that each side has, as well as a simple delay. So that is how to play Legacies Allure in Tabletop Simulator. If you have any questions, feel free to go into our Discord server. We're always happy to show players how to play and happy to answer any rules questions. So enjoy.